everyone, welcome back for another scrapbook layout process video. So this is the last layout I'm going to be making using this kit with like the bubblegum machines and the candy pieces. And I actually had not planned on making this kit until I came across these pictures. And what I mainly had left in the kit was like the jelly bean pieces, which I thought I might actually save for maybe an Easter layout and use them with like a Doodlebug Easter collection or something. But there was also a bunch of these suckers on it, and I actually just happened to go past these pictures of my youngest son, and I can't remember the date now of this layout, but this was like one of the first suckers he'd ever had, and he's sitting down with this sucker and he's just a mess, and it's just really cute. He just looks like a sweet little boy, and I thought what better of a layout to use these suckers on than these pictures. So I only really had scraps left and the two 6x6 pieces of pattern paper that you can see that I'm cutting up now. And so I am using a sketch from the 6x6 class that I took from Scrapbook Generation, another great class of theirs. It's a ton of sketches that you get in that class, and they're all using 6x6 paper pads. There's so much you can do with that class that if you didn't want to pay for the full 12x12 papers of a collection and you only wanted to get the 6x6 pad, you could do so many layouts with it. It's amazing. So just another class that I say, hey, if you want to take a class by Scrapbook Generation, go for it. So the sketch did call for a couple striped strips, and I didn't have any striped paper, and so I thought I would try using this 6x6 paper. And I'm going to trim it down and play with it, and you will see how that goes along in a few minutes. So I can't remember the sizes that I cut all of those pattern pieces to, but they are all, again, from the 6x6 sheets. I had an extra green in the 6x6 pad. There was a random green color that came, I don't think anything else was on I'm sure there was something on the other side of it, but I don't really remember at this point. Maybe when I flip it over to glue them down, we can see, but you can see I'm leaving one of the photos at 4x6, and the other photo is about 4x4, cut down to about 4x4. I'm just making sure. I think that I had cut it a little crooked there, and I'm putting those. I'm torn a little bit about this layout. I love the layout, but at the same time, there's parts of it that I'm not that crazy about, but that's okay. The story is told, and it's just a simple little story. It's no big event that happened or anything. I just think these pictures of my son are really cute. So, and I did notice you're going to see me play around a little bit with these little strips that I'm gluing down, because some of them I must have cut just a hair shorter than the other ones that I cut. I think that I just cut, I think they're 3 inches by 2 inches, and I think so since it was 6x6, I just cut it in half, but I think some of them ended up just a little bit longer. You can see I'm kind of looking here and saying, hey, these are all shorter and this one's a little longer. So don't know how that happened, not worried about it. I just take that one off and replace it with these ones. Excuse me. Oh, so the back side of that green 6x6 piece was just orange. I thought that was kind of cool that they added that in. I was kind of wishing that in the 6x6 they had added each of the other colors like blue and everything else like that, but that's okay. I was happy with the green. And I liked the green because he is wearing green. And I will say about these pictures and this pattern paper, if you notice, the green in his shirt, I mean, the colors in the pictures really do not match the colors in the pattern paper at all, but I'm not going to let that bother me because I just really wanted to use all these cute little sucker embellishments, and you will see how I go about doing that. So where the striped strip was on the sketch is where I'm playing with these little strips. I tried cutting it down from a 1/4 inch size to half of that, so I guess an 1/8 of an inch. and it didn't work. So sorry, there's my hand accidentally hit my light again. So I was a little bit thrown off because I wanted something else other than just what's on there now, but none of the strips were working. I tried the stripe strips going vertically, and I'm looking for something that I could possibly use horizontally along the two photos there, but all of the everything that kind of coordinated with this kit was just kind of too much the same, and it wouldn't stand out very much, and so I was kind of thrown off. But what I did have here was these. This was from the Petite Prince collection that coordinated with the So Much Pun kit. This green strip you see me using here. And so for right now, I kind of like that below the picture. I'm going to leave it there because I didn't have I thought that I didn't have a big enough strip of it at this point. And I do know that I had some border strips, but I didn't want to take those out at this point either. So I laid those there just for a little while to see how I liked it. But here's those cute sucker embellishments. And I'm just going to start playing. I added that You're So Sweet up in the top left hand corner. And I thought it would make just like a little triangle with the top left, bottom left, and maybe something there on the bottom right. And it kind of goes that way. I do struggle, I think I mentioned, I struggle with this layout quite a bit. There wasn't as many of the sucker embellishments. There was a lot of the jelly beans. And for a while, I thought that maybe I didn't really like that. But I do end up adding some of the jelly beans on there just because I like the little smiley faces and everything there. So here I'm taking that green strip, which I kind of liked down below the pictures, and I'm adding it onto the page. And I think that might be what was left over from the first kit, or maybe the hamburger kit. I can't really remember. But I decided that I did like the little border. I liked the separation of the pictures and the pattern papers on the bottom. And so I just trimmed it down. It's not exactly 100% the same. This piece is a little bit bigger than the other piece, but I'm just going to go ahead and add it on there anyway. And I figured when I added it on there, I would just make sure to add some kind of embellishment over where the two pattern papers meet, and so you won't know that it's not one entire strip. And sorry for my head and my clothes and everything. So I thought I would add that sucker there, and this is where I get a little thrown off because I do end up adding the cluster in that spot where I tried to cover up that part of the pattern papers that was divided, but it ends up being kind of not really much of a triangle. I don't like first of all, I think it was the shape of the suckers. So I wanted it to be angled that way, but I had the green sucker angled inward. And so I wanted the pink sucker to be angled the opposite direction of the green one. And so I just went ahead and just put it on there for now. And I figured I would come back to it and I would play around with this cluster. And so I am adding pop dots and glue dots underneath some of these items. I do like glue dots sometimes because it's not a completely flat adhesive, and so it's not real obvious, but it will add just a tiny bit of a dimension. So if you're using foam tape, you can also use pop dots. Excuse me, my words are getting all tangled today. So if you're using pop dots, it does give just another slight dimension to some of your elements. So that's just a little hint. And I knew that I wanted to use up all the suckers because I didn't have any other layouts planned for this little paper kit. And this will be the last kit the last page out of this little mini kit. And then next I believe the next one I use is the one with like the Band-Aids and the medicine, and you will see what I do with that next. So I wanted to add a sucker up into the cluster. I plan to make a little cluster around the title, which I also struggle with because that title piece is round, and it kind of throws me off a little bit. So a lot of things were throwing me off on this layout, but I am going to fight the struggle and just go with it. And you will see in the very end of this video how I added one thing that I don't usually add. I haven't been adding lately, and I love it. So, but we will talk about when that comes up. So another thing I'm also using on this layout is those peppermint candy pieces. I figured I would save those for, you know, like a Christmas collection or something. I could just use it with that, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to add a few of them on here, and because there wasn't enough of the sucker elements to really fill in everything, I'm just adding in a little bit of everything. I think the only thing I don't use is the chocolate bars, and I don't use all of these. I figured I could save the chocolate bars. My plan with the chocolate bars is, if you saw my making the mini kits video, I plan to do a page with like the chocolate cake pieces, and they're making a chocolate cake, so I plan to use those photos. So that is my goal at this point. I'm saving the chocolate bars. I thought they would go really good with the chocolate cake piece. So here I'm trying to use up, you can see that little tiny pile. That is all I have left for embellishments for this page. And since the clusters are kind of an odd angle, an odd triangle, because I had to cover up that little strip, I'm just trying to draw more interest around the page, and I feel like the triangle draws your eye to that one photo and kind of throws off the entire layout, and that is what I'm struggling with. And these are all the embellishments I had left, and I thought about bringing in some other things, but I kind of wanted to keep it mostly to the Doodlebug collection for these layouts, just so you guys can see what kinds of things you can do with it. So then I thought one thing that always helps when you have different clusters is to mat your layout, which you guys, if you've been watching my videos, you know that I've been on a huge kick of mounting my layouts lately. And so I'm just going to trim 1/8 of an inch off of each of these sides, and I'm doing 1/8 of an inch off of each side, so that the main cluster of everything, pattern papers and stuff in the middle, stays in the middle and is not off-sided. So now I'm going to use my, go-to technique of my scrappy tape, and I'm going to put that all around the edges. Sometimes I do add a strip in the middle, but I don't always feel the need to. So I just took off the backing of one of the strips, got it down where I wanted, and now I'm just going to easily pull up the backing of the other strips, and it makes it so easy to get your layout straight. And the backing of that scrappy tape comes off super easy. I just barely, sometimes my fingernails are longer than others, but I usually just take it off with my fingernails. I've seen people use tweezers and things like that. So, but it comes off super easy, in case you're wondering. And also, if you're wondering, it's called Scrappy Tape, and I get it from scrapbookpal.com. And I love their website because $25, if you spend $25 or more, it's free shipping. I don't know if to other countries, that's a small disclosure, I don't know to other countries, but at least in the US, it's free shipping for $25 and over. And so I just stock up on all my adhesives at once, and they are usually slightly cheaper when it comes to adhesives. They're not full price like you would pay in Michael's or something like that, which I know at Michael's you could use the coupon, but anyways, back to the layout. So you saw a second ago, I went through all of my 3x4 cards, and I have most of my 3x4 cards. If they're not in a collection, then they are divided by color. So I went through the green ones here, and I've actually enjoyed I've used up quite a few 3x4 cards lately with these collections. They seem to match fairly well, so I don't know how well you can see. I think there's really slight green, like a slight green grid on this 3x4 card, and I just cut off the part of the card that I didn't want, and I made sure the edges weren't round. I didn't want rounded edges with all the other edges being square on this layout. I used to round more of my edges on my layouts, which I should do again because it does have a real neat look. But anyways, so I added my 3x4 card there, and I'm still just playing around with a few of the clusters. I was trying to add a bit of pink up into this top left cluster, since there was definite pink. Oh, excuse me, I gotta move my computer for a second. There was definitely pink in the bottom two clusters, so I wanted to make sure there was a little bit of pink in the top cluster. And so I just added that little jelly bean, and again, I struggled a little bit with the jelly beans because of their odd shape, but it works. So these are my Doodlebug Teensy type stickers, and I decided, I think I mentioned in one of my last videos that I struggle with using the circle ones, but I'm going to try to do it again here on this layout. First of all, to get them used up. Second of all, just because there were so many other round elements on this layout that I thought maybe I could just make it work. And I didn't really have a title. I kind of just wanted to use that "You're So Sweet" just because I thought that was a good little title for this, little baby pictures, you know, with a sucker. That was a good enough title for me. So what I'm going to do is to add the date. And I wanted to add the date up in the top cluster because I felt like it would kind of add a little bit of a green border to that, but it just was not working very well. So I decided to just go ahead and add it to this what do you call this, journaling card. So that works for me, and it does kind of bring out, I think that was the other thing that I was thrown off a little bit by, was that green strip down the middle. It was very green and very bold. So, and then I also took just 2 of the letters TJ, because sometimes we call him TJ, and I added those letters into, I just tucked them behind the jelly bean up by the title. All right, now I've sped up the video quite a bit so you guys can watch me struggle here. So this is Dazzlers by Textures by I don't know, I can't remember. I showed the lid just a second ago, and this is their sour apple color, and I have used modeling paste and things like this a few times. I was a little thrown off because the texture of this was really gel-like, and I think it must be because it's old or something was different about it, but I don't think it's supposed to be this kind of texture. And here's a big piece of advice if you're going to add modeling paste or something through a stencil, is to do it before you have all your elements popped up. You can see I'm really holding down the stencil with my thumb or my fingers next to where all the popped up elements are, to make sure my X's and O's get flat. And this is a stencil I believe that I got from Scraptastic a while ago, and you can see here I'm trying to fix one of the X's that got kind of all wonky and messy, which is okay. I like the wonky and messy. And this is what I'm doing to add a little bit more to this page. I think I didn't like it without this. I had turned off my camera. I thought I would just be done with the layout, but I didn't like it. I knew it needed something more, and so I went ahead and I'm adding a little bit of these X's and O's with this modeling paste or Dazzlers or Textures, I don't know, whatever it's called. And the nice thing about this stuff is you have a few seconds to kind of, you can see I'm taking my little tool and kind of shaping and cleaning up the messy ones. Because I have all the dimension of the pop dots, I can't lay the stencil flat on the page like I'm used to. So, and then I also made a little bit of a mess on the page, and I'm just going to leave it because I'm not done, but I'm cleaning off my stencil because some had gotten through on the other side. So anyways, I have a few still shot photos here at the end, and I'm just going to add a little bit more to the top part of this cluster so that it looks like it's going all the way around this cluster. And that is going to be the page. So it's not my favorite. I'm not 100% blown away, but I love the pictures and I am happy with how it looks with the modeling paste. So here's a close-up of the modeling paste after it dries. You can see it's not the cleanest job, but you know, I thought he's kind of messy in these photos anyway, so it works out. So I hope you like this layout. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.